Hello, I'm Mark,
And I'm Kevin.
and this is the Dad Pod, episode 2. So, on our last episode, we just talked about our kids and how everybody was, and kind of, me and Kevin just kind of bounced some stuff off of each other. On this episode, we were actually going to delve into something sometimes controversial.
It's not something most people care to talk about, honestly.
And it needs to be talked about. We're going to talk about mental health and just health in general. So, one thing we want to put out there is, first off, if you feel like there's something wrong, you can seek help. It's not something to be ashamed of.
There's always someplace that will work with you.
So, we're obviously speaking from experience. I was actually diagnosed not too long ago with bipolar disorder. I think it was the second one. It's not as severe. Bipolar, yeah. My wife is also here. She's off in the corner crocheting a blanket. But she just said it was bipolar 2. What that is you have hypomanic, not hypermanic tendencies, meaning that instead of constantly going through something absolutely crazy like rearranging the house every single day, you go through episodes of where you do stuff like that. You have higher times of not having much sleep, so the sleep deprivation and anxiety and depression can go along with that. And Kevin just recently told me that he wanted to get help for himself. So he's actually got something set up in our area that deals with everything mental health goes along with.
As of now, I don't have any real diagnosis, and I'm not scheduled for an appointment until my birthday. But I guess we'll see where it goes from there and plan accordingly.
Right. And we've gone over it. I have 4 kids and 1 on the way. One of the biggest things that I think I dealt with a lot was I got really depressed after having each kid, which I didn't realize it until my wife had brought it up to me that
You slept through all the births.
okay, yeah, I slept through all the births, but we're talking about depression after, geez.
Sleeping is a side effect.
Sleeping is a sign of effect of depression. But she had also read that men also go through the baby blues.
Postpartum depression.
Postpartum depression, that's what it is. So it was soon after our daughter was born that I really had gotten down into the dumps. The house was in disarray. My wife was working. I ended up quitting my job just for how bad I was. I would wake up and not want to do anything. I would lay in bed. The only thing I would do was either get up to take care of the kids, and that was only just barely, or I'd get up to go to the bathroom and barely get up to eat. Like, my appetite went out the window. But it got to a point where it was beyond postpartum depression. It was just, I was depressed all the time. I was anxious. I needed to actually seek help, and that's what I ended up doing. So after your daughter was born, did you experience anything like that?
Actually, I did. Probably one of the only people that has never actually felt love until their child came around.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
And I had no idea that I'd never felt love before.
Gosh. Man, I had something similar. My wife knows this, where it wasn't with the child being born, though. It was, don't think I had ever been taught, I wouldn't say taught, but I never really felt what love was.
You didn't know what the feeling of love was.
No. I didn't know what the feeling of love was.
Because what you had thought of as love was a dysfunctional.
Yeah. If you're wanting to talk, you need to get closer. I don't even know if the audio is picking up her voice, but a lot of what my idea of love was dysfunctional family. I had a mother who wasn't all that kind. My father, who really wasn't all that kind. He kind of grew up in a depressing situation himself, and I don't want to really delve too much into it.
We're all on good terms.
Yeah, we're all in good terms. But growing up, my mom and my dad, they fought a lot. So much so that there were times where I still remember it. My mom had thrown something at my father, and he got hit in the jaw with whatever it was that she threw. And I just remember him grabbing himself and going, you broke my jaw. And that just kind of stuck with me. And to me, like, it felt like abuse should have been part of a relationship. Now, I wasn't really ever abusive, but I was with abusive women. So a lot of it was just, I didn't know what to expect out of a relationship. Now, Kevin, I know with you really didn't have too many relationships up until you ended up getting with your ex-wife.
Well, yeah, it's true, actually. I would mostly stick to online because I wouldn't have to see or do anything really except talk to them occasionally. And probably not the healthiest thing.
No.
But I've always felt rather disconnected from most people. And I mean, I've lost a few people here recently, and as bad as it sounds, I felt nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I don't know how to deal with that.
Right, and that's when you contacted me on what you should do.
Isn't that how you used to feel, Holly?
Yeah, a lot of the times that's what I would end up doing. If anything that should normally be at least slightly traumatic happened, I really wouldn't feel anything.
Not just lack of joy.
Yeah, lack of joy. I didn't feel a whole lot of anything. There was a lot of times in my life where I really should have been happy, sad, something, and I just didn't feel anything.
Just float through life.
And then there was other times where I was like over ecstatic about some things, or just like overjoyed, or over sad, over depressed.
Which is exactly what practice.
I personally have never felt the over ecstatic, over sad, over anything. It's always just been disconnection.
Yeah.
When it comes to my daughter, and when it comes to my current girlfriend, those two are the only people I've actually felt love with ever. And it's a lot to process, but I feel like at least it's good that I've learned it. I know what it feels like.
I think the biggest step with anything in regards to mental health is accepting the fact that you might have something wrong.
Yeah.
Because if you don't accept that something could be wrong, you're not going to search for help.
Right. That's always the first step, is just accept it and
recognize that you're not feeling something that you're supposed to be feeling.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, you know what I went through in high school. Everything was hidden under a smile. Everything was a joke, or
I'm still one of your only friends that stayed around that
You are my only friend.
yeah. I mean, me and my wife, we keep on pointing out that fact that we only have it's either one friend or sometimes two friends. It kind of just depends on.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, yeah, I would much rather have one absolutely
good,
solid, good friend like you. You have been my bestest friend since just about middle school. I say just about because that's when we met, but we didn't really become friends until.
It was just not until high school.
Yeah, it was high
when
school.
We became friends.
When was it when you started working on that story?
We'll leave that for another podcast.
That sounds good. A close family friend of ours had actually just recently told us that she was dealing with a lot. She's got a few kids that are quite a handful, and she also has been dealing with certain mental problems basically her whole life. A lot of it was just kind of starting to get to her a little bit too much. Her house has been kind of in the state that it was when I realized that I was going through a lot, and she told us that she needs help. And that has always, we're kind of pushing that. Like, it's one of the biggest things that you need to do is just admit something is wrong and go get help.
Find a place. They generally work with you as best as possible to be able to get you in and get you better.
I work for a hospital, and they've got TV screens set up through the hospital. As you're walking through, you can see little inspirational messages and stuff like that. One of the things that I constantly see in there is that something along the lines of mental health is not, I can't remember how it's worded, just basically saying that it's not a negative thing. You can always seek help.
And it's important that you do if you need it.
Definitely. Now, I will say that if you feel like you need to take a break, there's no problem in that either, as long as all the parties that are involved within your life understand that. Like, hey, I need to step away from this situation. Even if it's just like a 5-minute walk or like taking a day to yourself. I've asked my wife a few times, hey, coming up soon, it doesn't matter when, can I just take a little bit of time to myself? Or she doesn't like it, but every once in a while I'll just retire to the bedroom.
I don't
And
like when you leave all kids and
Well,
tell me where you're going.
yeah, I know. All the kids will be out here, and then she'll come to find me thinking I have fallen into the toilet, and no, I'm asleep back in the back room. But sometimes you need it, and sometimes she needs it too, which she'll let me know, like, hey, I need to go take a nap. I need to just reset. And that's what we do. We make sure that things are taken care of and we reset. Unhealthy ways to deal with it, which I at one point was a victim of this, is drowning yourself in alcohol.
Yeah, I remember high school.
It wasn't just high school though, man.
It was after high school too, but
There was a point after Jasper was born that I think you had come over a few times. I downed bottles of vodka. Well, they were fun
Jug of
nights.
death.
Oh God, that jug of death. While it was, the nights could be fun times, what I don't think you ever saw from me was I was also going to the store and buying the little flask-sized bottles of Jack Daniels and downing those every night, which I've only told my wife about, and that was unhealthy. I never sought professional help about it, but I had gone from not completely sober, but soberer than I was at that point, to completely drunk every single night. That's the only way that I was getting to sleep.
Right.
It was a very unhealthy way to deal with it. I mean, on top of the numerous hangovers, there was times where I would wake up and not know where the fuck I was. It wasn't a good situation.
No, it's never is. And I mean, I dealt with things from a younger age in unhealthy ways as well. I mean, I would hurt myself. I would cut my arms and
I remember that.
beat the ever-loving shit out of myself.
There was a lot of stupid stuff that we had done, but
And
once
it's kind of funny because most people, they'd see me hurting myself and think, oh, he's just messing around. Just messing around. And I went along with it because it was easier than admitting the
They
truth.
didn't recognize that you were asking for help without
right.
asking for help.
That's as they a lot of people will say that is a cry for help, and I think I probably pushed it along a little bit,
Just a little.
but that was just me trying to find a friend. Probably in all the wrong ways.
Hey, it worked, didn't it?
I mean,
There are
here we are, what, 20 years later? Oh,
Sounds
jeez.
about right.
20 years later.
something that a lot of people don't realize is when there is a cry for help, they don't understand how to answer it. That was one of my issues as a kid. Despite the fact that my mother worked for children's services and my father was a retired police officer, is I'm sure they can hear me just fine.
I don't think they can.
I think it's picking up.
It might be picking
It's a damn good
Hey, watch right
recording.
up. Okay.
Despite the fact that they've both been in the field that deals with people like that, when it came to me having those issues, they couldn't wrap their heads around it. Because I wasn't cutting myself to kill myself. I was cutting myself because that's the only way I could process my emotions.
I was
didn't
doing it
know
to
how
feel
else to
something.
do it.
Right. That.
and them being the way they were when they called for help, when they called the police to figure out why the hell I was doing this, and the police are telling them that she doesn't want to kill herself, but she's asking for help that you guys haven't given her. And because my dad was like, I don't see why she's doing it. Like, if she's not doing it to kill herself, she's just doing it for attention. And that hurts more. Being told that you're doing something for attention when you're not. You just don't know how to handle it.
Well, and then
There's a difference between seeking attention and crying for help. That's what I'm getting at. There's
Yeah.
a difference. A little itty bitty nick here to tell your boyfriend when he threatens to break up with you, I'm going to kill myself and break up with you. Okay, that's wanting attention. That's trying to keep someone from breaking up with you. You're not actually going to do it.
It's also very unhealthy and very manipulative.
That's extremely unhealthy, and if that's the relationship you're in, get out. But when it comes to a child who has behavioral issues, that is presenting, different things that aren't normal, and they're going to go cut themselves, even if it's not deep enough to really make damage, there's already other signs there. And when that starts, now we have to step in before they accidentally do cut too deep. And that's the thing that my parents failed to understand, is I'm not doing that because I want you to feel bad for me. I'm doing that because I don't know anything else to get me. If I don't do this to myself, I'm going to do it to someone else. Like, that's how I felt. And I'm the type of person that I internalize things, and I beat myself up before I beat other people up. And it's a lot harder when the people around you are adding to beating you up.
right.
Because then, where do you go then?
Not really anywhere you can go.
And then how she was saying there was something that she had said that something that kind of popped in my mind was doing things for attention. Now, when it comes down to younger kids, and we've noticed this here recently, is that if there's something going on, a kid will act out for attention, because the only attention they get is when they act out.
And that was something I did as a kid, and why that's why we're able to recognize it and what he's talking about, that we've recently come to accept this. There's a child in our lives who has been dealt a really crappy hand, and he is in a stable environment, yet continues to act out. And when your life is chaos, when you're used to being abused and screaming and just all that negativity, when you're put in a loving, positive, stable environment, you as a child do not understand what's going on, because you're so used to one thing. It's like taking an animal out of the wild and trying to tame it in a week. That's not going to happen. That animal's going to turn around and it's going to attack you. And that's the same with children. They're not as developed as we as adults are to know what's right and what's wrong. And in fact, it is our responsibility to teach our children what is right and what's wrong. So when someone has treated a child in such a bad manner, that's what that child expects life to be. That's what that child expects it's supposed to be. So when he's given something different, he doesn't know how to react, and he's going to react in the way he was taught. And that's his way of getting attention, because that's what he expects to happen. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I mean, that's all what I was going to say. Basically, that when he came into our lives, it was what he was used to was the only attention he was getting was negative attention. So he continued on to do it that way. Was he would act out to receive that negative attention, and eventually it's become a positive attention spin. So he's
learning.
He's learning, and he's really starting to improve on everything that's been going on.
He's fantastic. He's a different kid.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that he's a completely different kid from what he was 3-4 months ago, and it's surprised me. It's surprised my wife. It's surprised quite a few people in our lives. Yeah, this can be a deep subject, and it feels like it can really bring you down sometimes, but you always got to understand that there's positivity out in this world. And one of the biggest things that I try to do is to put positivity out. And most of the time, if I do that, I get positivity back. And sometimes life can bring you down even when you put the positivity out, but you just got to keep doing it.
And you just got to keep trying your best and never give up and get the help you need.
Yeah, it's that when you have hit that point where you're just, I can't do this anymore. That is the moment to seek help. Because if you can get it before then, do it. But a lot of people, they try to do it on their own. They feel like if they admit to it, then they're weak or whatever. And that's especially from a male's perspective of, hiding their emotions, hiding their issues. That is a very masculine thing, and unfortunately we as a society have ingrained that into men. But when you're to that point of, I can't go on anymore, that is the most dangerous point, and that's where you have to step up. You cannot keep going if you're at that point, and there is never ever anything wrong with saying, hey, can you help me?
Right. And it's always one thing to man up if you get a cut, but it's a completely thing to man up when you feel like you just want to die.
Our brains are a muscle.
Yeah.
They have so many of their own issues, just like any other muscle in our body. And I think mental health is probably almost more important than some other health aspects. You want to go on that diet, go on that diet. Make sure your brain's healthy.
Yeah.
That's how it needs to be.
Thinking about this, if you haven't seen Avengers Endgame yet, I'm sorry, because this is way past a spoiler warning. But Thor ends up getting his hammer back, and when everybody first saw Thor, he looks like the dude from The Big Lebowski. He's sitting in there. He's got this huge belly. He's drinking beer. He's got the sunglasses on and everything. And like, I related to that because I'm a big guy. But when he got his hammer back, the first thing he says is, "I'm still worthy," and it really kind of rang out to me, because even if you are in a bad situation in your life, you aren't mentally stable, you can always get to that point where you think that you're not worthy of some situation, but you are absolutely worthy of whatever you want in your life. If you want it, you can have it. That's not to say that you will win the lottery, but you can at least feel like $1 million. Again, you just have to seek the help. And honestly, I think that's going to conclude it for the night. You guys have anything you want to add?
There's always a number to call.
Do you think maybe we should post that on the video?
Yeah,
There's always people willing to help.
we'll post resources underneath the video just for you to have them if you need them. All right. Well, everybody have a good night, good morning, good evening, whenever you want to listen to this.
We'll catch you again soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.